She was an alien assassin sent to kill me, but her plans changed when she saw my. The rain hammered against the apartment windows as Marcus finished his evening routine. He had no idea that death was watching him from the building across the street. Through advanced optical equipment that could pierce through walls and darkness, the assassin studied her target with clinical precision. Her name was Kira, and she belonged to a species known throughout the galaxy for their lethal efficiency. The Valdrians were born killers with enhanced reflexes, superhuman strength, and an instinctive understanding of how to end life in the most efficient ways possible. Marcus Chen worked as a software engineer for a small tech company in downtown Seattle. He was unremarkable in every way that mattered to most people. Average height, brown hair behind thick glasses, and a tendency to stumble over his own words when talking to strangers. What made him special was something he himself didn't fully understand yet. 3 months ago, he had begun working on what he thought was a simple data encryption project for his company. In reality, he had unknowingly cracked a communication protocol that the Valdrian Empire had spent decades perfecting. The discovery had sent shockwaves through their intelligence networks. This single human had accomplished what their best cryptographers had declared impossible. The encryption he had broken was the backbone of their entire military communication system. Every fleet movement, every strategic plan, every classified operation was now potentially compromised. The Valdrian High Command had debated for weeks before reaching their decision. Marcus Chen had to die before he could realize what he had accomplished or share his breakthrough with others. Kira adjusted her position on the rooftop as she continued her surveillance. She had been tracking Marcus for 3 days, learning his routines, his habits, his weaknesses. Tomorrow morning, he would leave his apartment at exactly 7:15 to catch the bus to work. He always stopped at the same coffee shop, where he ordered the same drink and sat in the same corner booth to read the news on his tablet. That would be where she would strike. A simple touch with a poisoned needle, and he would be dead within minutes, appearing to have suffered a heart attack. She was the perfect weapon for this assignment. Valdrians could alter their appearance to mimic almost any humanoid species. To everyone around her, she looked like an attractive woman in her late 20s, with dark hair and striking features. No one would suspect that beneath her human disguise was a being capable of killing with her bare hands. She had eliminated dozens of targets across the galaxy and had never failed a mission. Marcus Chen would be no different. What Kira hadn't expected was to find herself genuinely curious about her target. Most of her previous assignments had been military leaders, corrupt politicians, or dangerous criminals. Marcus was different. He was kind to everyone he met, even when they didn't deserve it. She had watched him help an elderly woman carry groceries to her car. He had given money to a homeless veteran without being asked. When a child had dropped her ice cream on the sidewalk, Marcus had bought her a new one and stayed to make sure she was okay. These observations troubled Kira in ways she couldn't explain. Valdrians were taught from birth that compassion was weakness. Their society valued strength, cunning, and the ability to eliminate threats without hesitation. Yet, as she watched Marcus navigate his simple human life, she began to question everything she had been taught. How could someone so gentle and caring be considered a threat to the mighty Valdrian Empire? What did it say about her people that they felt the need to murder an innocent man who was simply good at his job? The next morning, Kira took her position at the coffee shop, 30 minutes before Marcus was scheduled to arrive. She ordered a drink and found a table with a clear view of his usual spot. Her hand rested casually in her jacket pocket where the poisoned needle waited. All she had to do was bump into him, accidentally prick his skin, and walk away. It would be over in seconds, and she would be off the planet before anyone realized what had happened. Marcus entered the coffee shop exactly on schedule. He looked tired, as if he hadn't slept well, but he still smiled at the barista and said please and thank you. He got his usual order and made his way to the corner booth just as Kira had predicted. This was her moment. She stood up and began walking toward him, her hand gripping the needle in her pocket. Just a simple accident, a brief touch, and her mission would be complete. But as she drew closer, something unexpected happened. Marcus looked up from his tablet, and their eyes met across the crowded cafe. Instead of the fear or suspicion she might have expected, his face lit up with a genuine smile. He raised his hand in a small wave, as if greeting an old friend. The simple gesture hit Kira like a physical blow. Here was a man who was about to die, and his first instinct upon seeing a stranger was to be friendly and welcoming. She froze in place, her hand still on the weapon. Marcus was looking at her with such open kindness that she felt something crack inside her chest. No one had ever looked at her like that before. In her entire life, she had never experienced genuine human warmth. Valdrian society was built on hierarchy, competition, and the constant threat of violence. But this human, this target, was offering her something she had never known existed. Without thinking, Kira found herself walking over to his table. Marcus looked up expectantly, and she realized she needed to say something. Her training kicked in, and she prepared to deliver a lie that would get her close enough to complete her mission. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was the truth. The words that changed everything were simple and honest. Marcus had been working late into the night on his encryption project, and his eyes were red from staring at computer screens. But when this beautiful stranger approached his table, he felt compelled to offer help. She looked lost and uncertain in a way that tugged at his natural instinct to assist others. He invited her to sit down and asked if she needed directions or recommendations for places to visit in the city. Kira found herself sitting across from the man she was supposed to kill, and for the first time in her life she didn't know what to do. Marcus was even more genuine up close. He asked about her day with real interest, listened to her improvised responses, and shared stories about his own life with disarming honesty. He told her about his work, though he was careful not to reveal anything sensitive. He mentioned his family, his hobbies, his dreams for the future. Everything about him radiated the kind of basic human decency that Kira had been taught was a myth. As they talked, she realized that Marcus wasn't just a good person, he was brilliant in ways that had nothing to do with his technical skills. He saw connections between seemingly unrelated things. He asked questions that revealed deep curiosity about the world around him. Most importantly, he treated her with respect and kindness, even though she was a complete stranger. Every moment she spent with him made her mission feel more impossible. The poison needle remained unused in her pocket as hours passed. Marcus had called in sick to work, claiming he wasn't feeling well. In reality, he was captivated by this mysterious woman who had wandered into his life. There was something different about her, something that made him want to keep talking and learning more. He had never been particularly smooth with women, but conversation with her felt natural and effortless. Kira realized she was experiencing emotions she had never felt before. Guilt, shame, and something else she couldn't name. Marcus was everything her people claimed humans were not. He was intelligent, compassionate, and possessed a strength that had nothing to do with physical power. The more she learned about him, the more she understood that killing him would be the greatest crime she could commit. But she also knew that failing in her mission would mean her own death and possibly the deaths of other innocent people. As the afternoon wore on, Marcus began to sense that something was troubling his new friend. She seemed nervous and kept checking her phone as if expecting bad news. He asked if everything was okay and offered to help if she was in some kind of trouble. His concern was so genuine that Kira felt tears threatening to fall. No one had ever cared about her well-being before. The kindness in his voice was almost too much to bear. When evening came, Marcus asked if she would like to have dinner with him. He knew a small restaurant nearby that served excellent food and had a quiet atmosphere where they could continue talking. Kira knew she should refuse. Every moment she spent with him made her mission more difficult. But she also knew that these might be the only hours of genuine human connection she would ever experience. Against all her training and instincts, she said yes. The restaurant was exactly as Marcus had described it. Warm lighting, comfortable seating, and food that tasted better than anything Kira had ever eaten. As they shared a meal, Marcus told her more about his work and his passion for solving complex problems. He explained how he had always been fascinated by patterns and codes, and how his latest project had been particularly challenging. He had no idea that he was describing the breakthrough that had marked him for death. Kira found herself torn between admiration for his brilliance and terror at what it meant. Marcus had accomplished something that should have been impossible, but instead of using his discovery for personal gain or military advantage, he seemed completely unaware of its significance. He talked about his work with the enthusiasm of someone who loved puzzles, not someone who had stumbled upon a weapon of war. His innocence made her mission feel even more monstrous. As they walked back to his apartment, Marcus asked if she would like to see his workspace. He was proud of the setup he had created and thought she might find it interesting. Kira agreed, knowing that she needed to understand exactly what he had discovered. If there was any chance of protecting him, she needed to know everything. Marcus' apartment was modest but comfortable. His work area was organized chaos, with multiple monitors, whiteboards covered in equations, and stacks of technical manuals. He showed her the project he had been working on, explaining his thought process and the breakthrough he had achieved. As Kira listened, she realized that Marcus had not just broken the Valdrian encryption, he had created something entirely new. His solution was elegant, efficient, and potentially revolutionary. But what struck her most was not the technical achievement, but the man behind it. Marcus had solved one of the most difficult problems in cryptography, and his first thought was about how it might help protect people's privacy and security. He talked about potential applications for securing medical records, protecting financial information, and keeping personal communications safe from government surveillance. He had the power to change the world, and he wanted to use it to help people. The contrast between Marcus' vision and her people's intentions was stark. The Valdrians wanted to use advanced technology to control and dominate. Marcus wanted to use it to protect and empower. She realized that her people were wrong about humans and wrong about what constituted strength. True strength was the ability to kill or conquer. It was the courage to be kind in a dangerous world and the wisdom to use power responsibly. As the night grew late, Marcus offered to let her stay in his spare room. He had noticed that she seemed troubled and didn't want her to be alone if she was going through a difficult time. His offer was made without any expectation or ulterior motive. He simply wanted to help someone who seemed to need it. Kira accepted, knowing that she was running out of time to complete her mission, but unable to bring herself to hurt this remarkable man. She lay awake in the dark, thinking about everything that had happened. Tomorrow, her handlers would expect confirmation that Marcus was dead. If she failed to deliver, they would send other assassins who would not hesitate to complete the job. But she also knew that she could not kill Marcus. Everything she had been taught about humans was wrong. Everything she had believed about strength and weakness was wrong. This gentleman, with his brilliant mind and kind heart, had shown her what it meant to be truly alive. The next morning, Kira made her decision. She would not kill Marcus, but she would not abandon him either. If her people wanted him dead, they would have to go through her first. She had been created to be a weapon, but Marcus had helped her discover that she could choose to be something else. She could choose to protect instead of destroy, to build instead of tear down, to love instead of hate. When Marcus woke up, she was waiting for him in the kitchen. She had made coffee and breakfast, and was sitting at the table with a serious expression. He could tell immediately that something had changed. She looked different, somehow more determined and focused. He asked if everything was okay, and she told him they needed to talk. What Kira revealed to Marcus changed his life forever. She told him about her true nature, her mission, and the danger he was in. She explained that his breakthrough had attracted the attention of an alien empire that saw him as a threat. She described the assassins who would come for him, and the technology they would use to hunt him down. Most importantly, she told him that she had chosen to protect him instead of killing him. Marcus listened in stunned silence as his entire world crumbled and reformed. The existence of alien life, the reality of interstellar politics, the fact that his work had made him a target, it was almost too much to process. But what amazed him most was that this deadly assassin had chosen to risk everything to save him. She had given up her old life, her people, her very identity, because she believed he deserved to live. Together, they began planning their escape. Kira had access to advanced technology and knowledge of alien tracking methods. Marcus had his brilliant mind and deep understanding of human systems. They would need to disappear completely, erasing all traces of their existence, while finding a way to warn humanity about the threats they faced. It would be dangerous, and they might not survive, but they would face it together. As they worked side by side, Marcus realized that he had fallen in love with this extraordinary woman. She was deadly and dangerous, but she was also brave and compassionate. She had sacrificed everything for a stranger because it was the right thing to do. Her strength came not from her ability to kill, but from her willingness to choose love over duty, hope over despair. Kira found herself experiencing emotions she had never thought possible. Marcus had shown her what it meant to be human, not in biology, but in spirit. He had taught her that true strength came from kindness, that real power came from the choice to help others, that genuine courage meant standing up for what was right even when it was difficult. Their escape took them across the country, using false identities and staying ahead of the alien hunters who were closing in. But they were not running away from something, they were running toward a future where humans and aliens could coexist peacefully. Marcus continued his work, developing new encryption methods, while Kira used her knowledge to help protect Earth from other threats. In the end, what had started as a simple assassination mission became something much greater. Two beings from different worlds had found each other and discovered that love could bridge any gap. Marcus had been marked for death because of his brilliant mind, but it was his kind heart that had saved them both. Kira had been sent to kill, but had instead learned how to truly love. Together, they proved that the greatest weapon against hatred and fear was the simple human capacity for compassion and understanding. The story of the alien assassin who chose love over duty became a legend that spread throughout the galaxy. It showed that even the most hardened killers could be redeemed by genuine kindness, and that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the courage to protect and preserve what was good in the universe. Marcus and Kira had found something worth fighting for in each other, and in doing so had perhaps saved both their worlds from a future of endless conflict and fear.